Oh, look, we're live. Let me turn up my sound. I don't know really why I need to hear myself. It's just a professional radio habit. Actually, it's good to know. Hi, I want to make an announcement. First of all, I'll be on WBZ at 9 o'clock on Thanksgiving, 9 p.m. with Morgan White Jr. Very exciting. Make sure you call in. I am trying to get in touch with listeners, former BZ listeners of mine, Sky and Frank, to let them know that. I met them at Chachi's Beatles event at the City Winery, and I want to make sure I contact those folks. So if anybody knows Sky and Frank, please let me know. So I'm very excited about that. It's fun. It's always fun to reconnect with my beloved friends that I made on the radio on WBZ. I'm sure the usual suspects will be there. Haven't heard from Glenn in a long time. I think he got mad at me for questioning his politics. Which brings me to another topic, or the actual topic of the day, I should say, and that is, should we just shut up about our politics? I did post a carefully worded opinion to that effect. We need to shut up about our politics. There's one thing that we can do right away to heal the country, and that is shut up about our politics. At some point, don't know when it was, but it was happened pretty quickly. We came to believe that it was our duty, our right, and our duty to all the time tell everything all about how we feel about politics. Back in the day, you didn't, and there was a certain wisdom to not doing that because it destroyed relationships. And it didn't destroy relationships only on the micro level, but it also destroys them on the macro level. It destroys the relationships on a large level between our country. It divides our country, literally, actually divides our country. And when we are divided, we are weak, as Lincoln was quick to point out. A divided country is not good. We probably do have at least as much in common as we do not in common, but all we hear about is the differences, and we should shut up about our politics and focus on the other things to talk about. There are so many other things to talk about. Trips you've been on or trips you want to go on, raising your children. Oh, my kid said this. Can you believe it? What do I do? The price of stuff. You can complain about the price of stuff and not immediately go to, oh, the Democrats are a bummer, the Republicans are a bummer. Now, the response I got to that was, well, nobody changes their mind about anything, even that topic right away. I got pushback on that, which is to be expected. And there are a couple of ways that it happened. One was, you mean not supposed to be quiet and let the other side just walk all over us? And that comment is based on the misguided belief that somehow you are making a difference on social media. You're not. You're not helping your cause. No one's changing their mind at all. The only thing that happens is they hate you. That's it. You're not changing anything. You're just angering the other side. You're not changing anything. You're just losing half of your friends. Not only because you exposed your politics and they don't want to hang around with you, but they exposed their politics and you don't want to hang around with them. Now, another form the pushback came in was this, and his name might have been Reagan. I don't know if it was you for sure, Reagan, or not. If it's not, then ignore this. But it was, it came in the form of, when you talk to me, you get the truth, the brutal truth. That's all you get, the brutal truth. And he said it like that was a good thing. And it's not a good thing. What happened to civility? Brutal truth is not always appropriate. It's not always the best thing. Sometimes you should just chill out and get along. I don't want the brutal truth. When I meet up with you, I don't want the brutal truth. I've lost friends. They need to give me the brutal truth. I don't want the brutal truth. We have a lot of stuff we can talk about that's not your political opinion. And folks have decided, well, there's a couple things going on. One, it becomes a person's hobby. It's their life. It's their hobby. Folks that didn't have anything before, no identity, this is their new identity. And so they wear it all the time. And you can't tell them, oh, don't share your identity with me, because this argument business is their identity. Too bad. And you should be judged on your behavior, not on your theories or the way you talk. And it's just counterproductive to always be brutally honest about your politics, always. There's more to life than that, and it's damaging. It damages your mind. It damages your own psyche, being brutally honest and having a confrontation all the time. Counterproductive, again. Certainly for me, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know your politics. I wish no one knew mine. As a talk show host, it was kind of my job to stake out, to argue political positions. It was definitely my job, even though I wasn't a so-called political talk show host. Stuff comes up. And interestingly, if I would argue a lot of times I would argue against a position just based on logic. Like someone would say, I remember someone saying, and Nick from Boston always used to say, he was pretty boring because he said the same thing all the time. He would say, well, first he'd come on and say, Bradley, you're the best, to do the buttering up. And then he would say, our President Trump is the best president ever. He's so great. He's the best. There's nothing wrong. Everything is fantastic. He's the best. He's the great man. We're lucky to have him. He's a great man. Every time. And no matter who it would be, I mean, it's probably, even if it was Joe Biden on the other side, every president has things that aren't great. And so if I would point any of those out to him, people would think, oh, you're a liberal, you're a progressive liberal. Or on the other hand, if somebody would say something about Obama or Clinton or something and say how great he was, I would point out, well, he did lie to us about this or that. And they would think, oh, this guy, he's a Trump fan. Oh, that's a bummer. You can't say anything negative or have any sort of real discussion, nuanced discussion, without everyone figuring you are 100% that nuance represents you in 100% in a big, complete way. No, that's a bummer. So if I had my druthers, I would definitely have no one know my politics at all. Because I'm telling you, it hurts you when people know your politics. It hurts you when people know anything. It makes you vulnerable. The more information people have about you, the more vulnerable you are. If they have your financial information, you're vulnerable. If they have your personal information, you're also vulnerable. And if they have if they know who you are politically, you are completely vulnerable. You're vulnerable to losing half your friends. You're vulnerable to getting fired at your job. If you work in Wyoming and you're a Biden fan, you're vulnerable to getting fired. You will get fired. You may get fired. You may get shot. I went to Wyoming, and I wanted to go to a gun shop, check out what they had. The gun shop was not open, but the door had a sign on it that said, If you voted for President Biden, you're not allowed to buy a gun because you're too stupid. Okay? Now, that doesn't hurt him a lot up in Wyoming, but it's just overboard. So can we please stop with the brutal honesty all the time? Shut up and vote. That's all that matters. You're not changing anyone's mind. You're just not. And if that's your identity, the politically brutal honest guy all the time, who anytime you're going to talk to him, you're going to hear about their politics, dude, they're not going to want to hang around with you. And other folks, you don't have any duty to hang around with a brutally politically honest person all the time. If it bums you out, if it's a downer, just leave. Just say, Bob, I'm out of here. I don't want to talk about your politics. Or even better, don't go. If your family's going to argue about politics at Thanksgiving, don't go to Thanksgiving. If your family's going to argue at Christmas, don't go to Christmas. You know, if your father is brutally honest about his politics all the time and he's opposite you, don't hang around with him. Say, Dad, I'm not hanging around with you until you shut up about your politics. We need to connect on what we have in common, and you're driving the family apart with your politics. Same with your so-called friends. You need to reevaluate your friends. If hanging around with them makes you uncomfortable because they're always brutally honest with their politics, whatever they may be, right or left, don't hang out. It's not worth it. You don't need those friends. It's shocking how few so-called friends you need. So that's it for today. Please S up. Shut up about your politics. And a hint. Don't look at politics. It's so easy. I get it. It's so easy to be drawn to find out what the latest political thing on the news is. Don't bother. It doesn't matter. There's really not enough news to fill up a day, and they just they just find things and create things to talk about, to freak you out, make you afraid. They want to perpetuate the panic. And you don't need that in your life. Maybe watch the news once a week to find out what's new. Really, even if you don't watch the news, you'll find out anyway. You get it through osmosis. Really, the only thing you need to know, there's not a lot to know. The stuff happening in your community, that's important to know. Like, what are they spending money on? Are they going to build? Are they building that new firehouse? Are our taxes going up in this community? That kind of thing. Was there a murder on my street? I'll tell you that when you watch the news and you see on TV news that a shooting happened in 4 towns over, you don't need to know that. It doesn't affect you. A fire happened in a triple-decker. You don't need to know that. It doesn't affect you. If there's something that's likely to cause a fire that they want to tell you about, like, remember if they turn the power off, that you have to be there when they turn it on, if you have a stove with a pilot light, to make sure that the pilot light's working and the gas doesn't blow up. Now, that's different. I think you see what I'm saying. You don't need to be jammed up with the news all the time. There's other stuff to do. Read a book. You know what? I'm not super actively religious, but the Bible has a lot of good stories in it, and I'm looking for an audiobook on the Bible. A listener gave me a study Bible, but it's too ponderous to read. And it's interesting about the Bible. Right in the first paragraph, I found things that I thought that doesn't seem right. For example, that God made us in his image so that we might worship him. Right? That seems what's an egocentric thing to do. Like, if you knew somebody that made something, if they could, just to worship them, you'd think that's weird. Like, what if they had children just so that the children could worship them? I mean, maybe that would seem to be a personality flaw that God would not have. God wouldn't need that ego boost of everybody worshiping him, it seems. So right away, I'm doubting the Bible. Also, the Bible is supposed to be the Word of God. Some say inspired by the Word of God. Some say the Word of God. But in the conference of, was it the conference of Nicaea? They sat down, decided what to exclude and what to include. Human beings decided what to exclude and what to include. So how can you pick and choose and edit the Word of God? Wouldn't it all be important? I don't know. There are a lot of good lessons in there. It's really a great, great story, and has many, as I say, many lessons. And maybe it's all the Word of God. I don't know. Doug from Doug from Western Mass, he'll tell you that it's all the Word of God, everything, and that the earth is 6,000 years old or something like that. You know, the earth only goes back to the beginning of the Old Testament. The earth itself was created then. Poof. And he spends a lot of time looking through the scriptures to prove that. And he loves to argue the point. And folks do have arguments for it, but so do flat earth people. They have all kinds of arguments. Okay, so please, folks, be quiet about your politics. I beg you. Kyle, great world literature. Yeah, read some classics. Or I got a book, short stories by Kurt Vonnegut, and there's a reason great world literature is great. It's good. It's generally good. Some of it's ponderous. It depends on the era, like Crime and Punishment. But there's a classic for everybody. And if you don't like reading, audiobooks are so nice just to lay in bed and be lulled to sleep like an audiobook, by an audiobook. Problem with that is you go to sleep and the audiobook's still playing and you don't know where you fell asleep. So you got to go back and try to guess the last thing you heard. Okay, that's it. I have to go and have a meeting with my bandmate about the band, the goals of my band. Finished an album. The band is Bridgebender. The album is called Hotel Bar. And it's way better than I thought. You know, I listened to them all repeatedly, the songs. They're wonderful. Just go to Spotify and Google Bridgebender. You'll be surprised. Choose any one. Choose that light and airy one called Thunder and Flow. And they all have stories. I haven't written the stories yet, but they all are about things. I have to write the stories and include them on Spotify so you can read them. I have to make sure all the lyrics are there. And again, I'm on WBZ with Morgan White Jr. on Thanksgiving at 9. And again, Chachi does these Beatles events, which are really cool, including trivia and magic. At the City Winery. I can't remember the day. It's once a month, I believe. Yeah. I'm going to go. And there's a great band. There's a band that I like and I'm hoping will be good called The Chills. They're on this Wednesday, the 16th. Please remember that I have a music radio show every week, Saturdays at 3 on WZBC. And you can also hear them after the fact on Mixcloud. Go to Mixcloud and Google Ignore the Machine. Ignore the Machine on Mixcloud. And please also remember that there's over 100 travel videos that I put together on my Bradley J. Travel YouTube channel. Including the most recent Portugal, and including a recent one, Wyoming. I guess that's it for today. As I say, I have to go. I've got a steep hill. I'm going to walk up and down it. That's my workout now, and I love it. I get huffing and puffing. I'm sore the next day, and I'm eating well. I just had scrambled eggs just with one egg, no salt, no butter, no nothing. A little bit of 2% milk. And I'll have some fish, some haddock, broiled with no butter or anything. Just I'll have to put a little olive oil, but no salt. And then a protein shake with protein powder, ice cubes, half a banana, a little kale, and ice cubes, and a little magnesium. And that is pretty much it. And a couple of beers. That's my diet these days. I lost 30 pounds back from when I was 209. 209. So 209 minus 10 is 299, minus 10 is 289, minus 10 is 279. Maybe it's more than 30 pounds now. 269 would be 40 pounds. That was my record low, my record recent low, 69. So at that point, I had lost 40 pounds. And I have no willpower. So it's just a matter of changing your habits so you don't look forward to it. If I look forward to something, I have to have it. I need to get it out of the house, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. So that's it. Please join me on, follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter, please. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on the Spotify, Google Bridgebender. That's the band, Bridgebender. And subscribe on YouTube Travel Channel. That's Bradley J. Travel. And that's it. Thanks a lot, folks. Bye now.